Welcome again back to Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. And today you are with the Galaxy Equalizers. That is the second part of our program when we deal with pure politics. The number to call is 410-3030, and we encourage you to participate in our program, share our program. And again, we apologize for the late start. We are really some new kids on the block. Sometimes it's difficult to start at the time we want to. We extend our apology and we encourage you to subscribe to Studio Galaxy. So even if you miss it, it will be there easy at your picking. And the topic today is, shouldn't you know your political leaders? Shouldn't you know your political leaders? In Grenada, we have two main political parties. And that has practically been always like that. In yesteryear, we had the GNP and the GULP. The GULP was the most successful political party in that era. They represented the people in the lower socio-economic grouping. And one might have said they were a little bit right of center. And then we had the GNP party, a party that perhaps represents more of the people in the upper class, or the people who believe they were in a different class. We had the revolution, or the coup d'etat, the experiment with revolution. Very, very unsuccessful. It lasted for 4.5 years. And it appears we did not know who our political leader was. Maurice Bishop himself said that the Gairyites are most supportive of the revolution. You see, some of the programs of socialism was practiced by Gairy. And one perhaps could have called Gairy one of the best socialist leaders in our country. It was Eric Gairy that built 28 schools in 13.5 years. He had a passion for education, recognizing that the majority of the people in the country was uneducated. Gairy felt that you must have education. Every other leader in the world thinks so. So Gairy built 28 schools in 13.5 years. And then he realized that these people didn't want to go to school. They didn't want to go to school. They sent the sons that was looking promising. They encouraged them to go in a trade, learn a trade, carpentry. In those days, they didn't have much mechanic. So if you got your son to go to learn body work with somebody, 3 years he learning body work. And the person he learning body work for hiding when they painting. They send them and learn tailoring. Sometimes 5 years they can cut a suit. That is how the term has been coined. They cut in the suit in the night. That's how the people go in, they learning to sew, they learn to make buttonhole, they learn to iron, they cooking, they cleaning, they go in and feed the tailor cow. But the tailor cut all the suits in the night. And during the day, they sewing it. He did not want them to learn that technique. So Gairy built these schools and encouraged people to send your children to school. And the people complaining, we don't have food to send the children in school. So he started truancy officers. We're going around to make certain children go to school and to give them clothes. You had a group Can Save. Some Canadian sponsor or what. Those who have clothes, to give them clothes to go to school. And they did not want to go to school. And they're complaining, so Gairy said, introduce pre-primary education. So children who is 2.5 years could go to school. So that provide an opportunity for the mother to go to work and the child go to school. But they're complaining more. So Gairy introduced daycare center. So these pre-primary school children, the parents can bring them in the daycare center. And when they come out to work, they could go and collect them. And the fees they had to pay in the daycare center was very minimal. And they provided food, balanced diet, and good food for these children. And then Gairy realized that academically a lot of people were struggling. He introduced technical education. Michael Battis would speak in glowing terms of those technical education. If you could have passed school even, and you go in the tech and voc, technical education. And Gairy then introduced St. George's University. It was after independence, Mordecai, I hope I get his name right, saw an island, independent island, and he wanted to open a university in an English-speaking country. He had written to most of the bigger countries in the Caribbean, and they did not respond to him. Because they had St. George's, they had the University of the West Indies. And most of these Caribbean islands would not have wanted any competitor to the University of the West Indies. So when he saw this island independent, he communicated, he sent it was a cable, I think, to Eric Gairy. And within a week, Eric Gairy invited him to come down Grenada. And that was the beginning of the story of St. George's University. And you ask yourself one many times, an individual who never had a secondary school education had such a great passion for education. And Gairy built community centers and home for the aged. The question we're saying, shouldn't you know your leaders? Maurice Bishop came on the scene. A number of activities was taking place in the world then. The imperialist movement was gaining a lot of momentum. Communism was a big challenge to Western imperialism. The Black Power movement, the Rastafarian movement, and Maurice Bishop came from university. He was a great orator. In Grenada, he decided that we must control this country. He was impatient, as most young people. He couldn't wait. They felt the ideas that they had was good for the people, whether the people like it or not. The communist countries have a doctrine, only 15% of the people in the country, they need to support them. Once they have 15%, they could control the country. At that time, the privilegencia in Grenada hated Eric Gairy with a passion. And why not? Why not? Gairy took lands from the landowners and gave it to the landless, make them into proprietors. You have to understand what that meant for somebody who did not have land, did not dream of owning land, and know there was a landowner. They felt there was a proprietor. And being the owner of a landowner elevated you to a social class. So these people overnight was elevated to a social class. And you heard people who was walking barefooted and couldn't buy a shoe. And they would say, I am not well lettered. They will no longer say, am I illiterate? I am not well lettered, but I am a proprietor. That was a big status leap. Sometimes it's difficult to understand that. No. I believe we should know our leaders. A number of people did not know Maurice Bishop. Maurice Bishop was able to deceive the privilegencia. They supported him because of their hate for Gairy. The children of the Gairyites, most of them was Rastafarians. They were illiterates. They supported Maurice Bishop because Maurice Bishop promised to legalize weed, marijuana. At that time, Rastafarians, sympathizers from the Rastafarians, felt that marijuana is a meditational hub, a spiritual hub. So marijuana was not only for recreational purposes, it's for religious worship. They supported Maurice Bishop for that. Maurice Bishop lied to them. The university graduates gravitate towards Maurice Bishop because he was a very eloquent, persuasive, charismatic lawyer. So they gravitated towards him. Maurice Bishop deceived them. Maurice Bishop was a Marxist-Leninist. When the country was overthrown, the question was who to lead the revolution. They agreed for Maurice because Maurice was more popular. So he gravitated to that popular leader. Do you know the leaders? After 1983, and the government then again was overthrown, Maurice Bishop had a palace coup d'etat, when Maurice Bishop was executed. The Americans overthrow the government then, or rescue the government, or intervene based upon the request of Paul School. You could put it any way you want. Depends on which side of the political pendulum you are on. Some people felt it was an invasion and they're against it. Some say it's a rescue mission, and some say Paul Schoon invited the Americans to come. And you could take whichever position you want based upon the political pendulum. They decided to start an interim government. And the first idea is, who is going to lead the interim government? They did not want the interim government to be led by known politicians. Alistair McIntyre, names started floating up. Nicholas Braffett, a public officer. Number of individuals who was not directly involved in politics before. Christopher William, Randolph Mack. I think Joan Postler, I can't remember if she was in it. Number of them. Alistair McIntyre said he would come, but then he changed his mind. And in the discussion, some of us felt that Alistair McIntyre would not have come. Braffett was a very reluctant person and decided he will only join that team if Alistair McIntyre is here. But later on, Alistair McIntyre refused to come, and they managed to persuade Nicholas Braffett to join the team. Ideas came up that he was for 2 years. Nicholas Braffett only 1 year. He insisted. And the interim government was for 1 year. All the political parties jumped to fight the 1984 election. Based upon the rumors that we were hearing, the Americans was not favoring Eric Gairy. Eugenia Charles and John Compton and Edward Siaga and Mitchell from St. Vincent, they did not want Gairy to come back in power, including the Americans. And the Americans was wise. They thought it could have been vengeance. The manner and the way in which the Gairy and the supporters was mauled and treated, I think was a good thing too. So the Americans helped to put the first NNP together, led by Mr. Blaze. Well, the last one term, only 2 political leaders was successful in more than 1 election continuously in Grenada. Eric Matthew Gairy and Keith Cardius Mitchell. Brizan wrote that Grenada is island of conflict. Brizan was forced to go in politics. The business, well, I wouldn't say forced, but those businessmen encouraged Brizan. They say, we go back you. So Brizan joined the politics on the call, at the request, and to serve the interests of the businessmen. Dr. Alexis had GDM. Keith Mitchell was with Dr. Alexis. Winston White pulled out, and Mr. Blaze. They formed the first NNP. I ask this question today. Shouldn't we know our leaders? Based upon the technology available and the research you could do, I believe the time has come for us to know who our leaders are. 40 years, the NNP in power. The NNP's party is in existence. Let me repeat that to correct myself. 40 years, the NNP is celebrating today. That political party has been extremely successful in Grenada politics. Why do I say that? It's the only political party that won 3 elections and won 15 seats, all the seats on 3 occasions. No other political party has done that. Not even Eric Gairy. That is an achievement of no mean quality. And understanding Grenada politics, as I believe I do, it's not easy to keep Grenadian people united. George Brizan wrote Island of Conflict. Even the very George Brizan that was writing history, when he published his book during the revolution, he deleted section of his book because he taught in school that the Lagunites betray Fedo. But during the revolution, Maurice Bishop related to the Lagunites. So George Brizan pulled out that in the book. I disagreed with him for that, and he lost my support. George Brizan wrote an article, and I like that article. He said if every household in Grenada eat 1 pound of cabbage a week, he calculated that is 20,000 households. He said that is 20,000 pounds of cabbage a week. And that is good for people. When George Brizan became Minister of Agriculture, he never planted 1 pound of cabbage. And he never spoke about it again. I believe we must know who our leaders are. We did not know George Brazan. I remember speaking to a couple individuals who came from Cuba and studied. At that time, the returning individuals was treated very badly. They was in limbo. The government of Mr. Blaze was reluctant to employ them because they saw them as too much communists. They only studied in these countries. And I remember saying to them, go to George Brazan. He liked people with plenty certificate. He don't too like you if you don't write. And 3 of them went to George Brazan. It's many decades later on, they remind me what I tell them. And he employed them immediately. George Brazan also would have a socialist leaning because at that time, most history teachers would have been socially inclined. We have to know who our leaders is. Never before in Grenada, I believe it is important to know who lead us. In 2022, we had Dickon Mitchell, a character that was not involved in the political process before. He was not involved in community development before. He was not involved in the trade union before. He was not involved in any civic group before. He was a completely unknown entity. He entered politics and people took him because he was new and he was not involved in politics. We buy a cat in a bag. We got a fake for that cat. And we cannot blame anybody because we did not know Dickon Mitchell. And after 2.5 years, there is too much mystery surrounded with Dickon Mitchell. You don't know if you will have to disown him tomorrow. You don't know if he's going to cause embarrassment tomorrow. We don't know if he's being blackmailed. We don't certain who is the third party that is dictating our foreign affairs. We don't know. The NNP would have the convention on the 15th of December. A long-awaited convention. During that convention, you expect a new leader to rise. The names that are calling now is Emmeline Pierre, Peter David, and Dwight Hosford. That's the 3 names you are hearing. Do you know who these people are? They have been in politics long. So one might feel very comfortable with them. Because of the NNP policy over the last 40 years, one might even say that their actions would be predictable. And I must say, all the members of NNP, you could practically close your eye and choose one. If they bar your eyes, you could choose one. Because they tend to be humble. They have lived very frugal. They tend to be very sensitive to the calls and the cries of the ordinary man. But do you know who these leaders are? Have you ever asked any one of them what is their position on the death penalty? Most countries in the world, Europe, Russia, has banned the death penalty. In America, Iran, And China, you still have the death penalty. What is your position on the death penalty? Grenada has not hung anyone since after they hung about 6 people. Prime, one from Paraguay, about 6 people got hung. They have not hung anybody after that. But would we hang people next year? Dickon Mitchell is introducing draconian laws. That came from his very mouth. Draconian laws. He wants to give somebody practically 2 life sentences if they are found with a gun. Do you know who your leaders is? What are these leaders' position on euthanasia? What is Emmeline Pierre's position on euthanasia? What is Peter David's position on euthanasia? What is Dwight Hasford's position on euthanasia? One could have safely said that Kit Mitchell would not have had the death penalty. That Kit Mitchell would not have had euthanasia. But are you certain you know the position of these individuals? You see, in the Caribbean, we tend to vote the leader. And the leader may shift the party from a right wing to a left wing to a right of center, left of center. So it's invaluable to know what the leaders stand for. Grenada is principally a Christian country. Do you support abortion? That is a real controversial issue. A lot of Christians are aborting. Do you support abortion? What is your leader's position on abortion? When is a child a child? A woman who is 9 months pregnant, should she abort her child? A woman who is 7 months pregnant, should she abort her child? A woman who is 6 months pregnant, is abortion right that time? When is abortion murder? When is abortion abortion? The Catholics and pro-life organization says from conception. When the sperm meet the eggs, bang! They collide with one another. They say a child exists. We cannot sit down and look surprised when we didn't ask this question. What is the situation of abortion? Millions and millions of Americans are killing children every day, aborting. In fact, the white race is going to become a minority because they're killing too much of their own children. You're not about that. But the black people start to commit a lot of abortion too. The most amount of family planning in the world is among black people. More black women die from breast cancer than any other ethnic group. More black men die from prostate cancer than any other ethnic group. Is disease? Or is it manufactured? Why black women dying from breast cancer more than any other ethnic group? Why black males more prone to prostate cancer? What percentage of black males have prostate trouble by the time they reach 40 years? What percentage? Is it 60%? Many of people say after the sub-Saharan, the Caribbean is ice. in AIDS and other socially transmitted disease. Is it true? Have you ever asked yourself these things? STDs, herpes simplex. What percentage of Grenadians over 40 years have herpes simplex? Do we care? There are some say, and they are not scientific. They say they hear. So you can't take them seriously, but you can ignore them. That Grenada have the most cancer in the Caribbean. Is it true? It makes no sense we burying we head in the sand. In the next 10, 20 years, I believe Grenada might have the highest rate of skin cancer. Oil, spent fluid, is placed on a lot of skin of our youth for extensive period. In yesteryear, people used to play jab twice, 3 times per day. In modern day, since June month come, is jab sedity. Hours and hours. Now that we have vehicles, they have drums and drums of oil on the vehicle to replenish those that follow. Not males alone, women too. Not males alone, women too. They put in oil all on the face. Are we certain that no oil is consumed? Because they have this oil on their body for extensive period. And they're drinking, and they're eating, and they're whining. You know what it is when the music playing? And alcohol get nicer when music playing. And you're consuming a good bit. And the music give you instruction. And you're whining. What percentage of oil that is likely to enter your orifice? Are we concerned about these things? Are we concerned? Is our leaders concerned enough to speak about it? Are they afraid to speak about it? Are they afraid that if they speak about it, people will say you're against the youth and jab, and they won't vote for you? Shouldn't we know who intend to lead us? A political leader have a lot of power in a democracy. Look at Dickon Mitchell. Dickon and Miss Mitchell. He says they have power, they can use it. So Dickon showing you how to could use power. Yes, the Prime Minister of a country have a lot of power. Dickon won election with 9 seats. And some of the things he's doing, when Kit Mitchell had 15 seats on 3 occasions, he never did that. Look at his level of arrogancy, vindictiveness, the amount of lies he tells without compunction. He even boycott foreign affairs and enter an ex-man country. And extremely dismissive of the Ministry of Tourism. Shouldn't we know who our leaders is? The NNP is about to select new leaders. Should we ask them the question? What's about gay marriage? A topic some of us prefer not to take part in. Gay marriage. Man married in man. Woman married in woman. Do our leaders support that? When you ask them this question, watch them in the eye. and see how long they take in to react. Our leaders, are they atheists? Do our leaders believe in God? Do they believe in Satan? All people over the world believe in some supernatural power. Some believe in God. Some believe in the ancient stars. Some believe in nature. Some believe in Satan. We have Satan worshippers. You Christians are going to church and playing your holy mother and thou. Are you holy in religious belief, but leave your religious belief when you go into political meeting? Or are you walking around with your religious belief? Is the people who lead you politically believe in God? Or are they atheists? You see, you have to know nothing is wrong if a man is an atheist. We live in a democratic country. Nothing is wrong if a man wants to marry a man. We live in a very pluralistic society. But you must know what your political leaders stand for. So you don't complain you was disappointed. You must know if the person you select as your political leader believe in God. You must know if they believe that man should marry man. In the United States today, you have group marriage. 3, 4 people married. 3 women, 2 men. Married together. The children that come from them is one. There are people who want to marry the animals. Do you believe in bestiality? The leaders believe in that. Some of the things that is going on in the United States today, and when things are going on in the United States, you must pay attention to it. Because the U.S. is practically leading the world in a lot of different areas, including social norms. Some of the most trouble churches have is with the United States churches. They challenge the status quo. They challenge the status quo. We just have a president of the United States that won election. Maybe he beat all the odds in history. 34 criminal charges and what? On 2 occasions they tried to impeach him. Such his place. He won convincingly. People support him. Nothing is wrong with that. They say he's more honest than Harris. They say Harris lying more than him. He say he's going to send back the immigrants. Immigrants vote for him. And you know there's a difference. There are legal immigrants and illegal immigrants. So don't muddle it up. Donald Trump says he's sending back all them illegal immigrants. They say it's about 11 million. He said 20-something million. So let's work with what? 11 million. Shouldn't we in Grenada ask our leaders question? Are you married? You're there with this woman 22 years now. Are you married now? A nice thing to ask a politician. Politician, they with a girl 20-something years, you have 3 children with her, you don't marry. You're a Christian? Asking why you don't marry the woman you are there? You want a better one? You're looking for one? Why are you not married? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in euthanasia? Do you believe in that? We must ask questions. I find Grenadians, every time you hold discussion, somebody in mind that like to talk, hiding and running. I mean, them in the rum shop all the time. You can't answer question. So you close with this leader. That leader is thief. You say you don't know. I say, oh, you don't know. All this thing I hear about that man. You close to him, you must know. The man has beat your wife. But I ain't saying you wrong to beat your wife. Because Muslims say you could admonish her. Muslims say you could deny your bedroom. Or you could beat her slightly. And you could have 5 wives. So now the man is a Muslim. You don't know. But if he is a Christian, based upon the laws of our country, and if he's a Christian, he's not supposed to beat his wife. But he could correct her. He might say, I didn't beat her, I correct her. But these are questions we must ask. We mustn't look surprised. I find too much of Grenadians doing surprise. You have individuals who go to politics and they preach in one thing and practice one. Nothing's wrong with that. That happened. Remember Jesus Christ called the Pharisees and them a brood of vipers? And he said, do what they say, but not what they do. They was saying the correct things, but what they was practicing was wrong. And so too, it could happen in politics. But I believe we must know our politicians. A politician is 30 years. They have achieved nothing. They can't even maintain their family. They can't put on a permanent job. You elect them to represent you. How are they going to represent you? They can't help themselves. 30 years. They can't make up their mind whether they want man or whether they want woman. Can't make up their mind. They want both of them. You might have to go and live in Los Angeles or somewhere in America. But in Grenada, by that age 30, you should make up your mind what you want. What kind of family you want. Whether you still want 10 women or whether you want one. Because you're 30 years now. You're not a child anymore. Remember, that individual is moving at a higher level to represent you where laws are made. It's not to say the guy on the block. The guy moving to a position of power. Even the Bible tells you. Nothing is wrong in a man taking a drink. Go to the book of Ecclesiasticus. But if he has to make decision, if he's in a decision-making position, he ought not to be drinking, drunk. Drunk, he can make decisions, he make bad decisions. We have to ask questions. Some of our women, 35, 40 years, they don't make up their mind if they want a man or if they want a woman. Up to now, they don't make up their mind if they want to have a child. Meet a girl the last time, 35 years. She tell me she wants something behind her name. She wants a bachelor's or master's. So she going and study. So you don't want to have a child, she tell me when she come back. But if you're 35 years, and the fact you don't have your master's by 35, it means you're not so hot academically. You go and study for 4 years. When you come back at 39 years, you have to have a sledgehammer and a cold cheese to make a child. Or you have to have a rich man because you spend a lot of money in hospital. Because you don't have one yet. We have to ask these questions. We have to make up our mind. And it's a good time to start. You see, we have to learn from Dickon. Because we bought a cat in a bag. We get a fake. So now, people must ask questions. Our journalists normally used to ask questions that they believe the people really want to know. But we have some very tame journalists this time vis-a-vis the government. They seem to be trying to shield the government more than anything else. I hear some journalists ask some question. I think it's essay they're writing. They're swinging left, right. They almost want to answer the question for the Prime Minister and other people they're asking. So we must ask those questions. And it's important. to know if your politicians believe in euthanasia. Mercy killing. She old, so let she dead. This is important. Now we have a government that is extremely insensitive to the elderly in our country. Remember, the government take out money from the elderly, the physically challenged and disadvantaged children. When you hear government set this policy in place, it acts as a catalyst, and the rippling effect on the ground could be devastating. So you want to know if your leaders believe in euthanasia, whether they believe in abortion, and you will see them hesitate. Are you pro-choice? Are you pro-life? Some say they're pro-choice. The woman says she body is hers, so she could kill anything that comes from her body. So up to 9 months, she could kill it. I don't know when that child with 6 months, maybe later on they may say you could kill it too. We must ask this question. Do you believe in gay marriage? In the United States, that was an issue even in election. You have some people that transgender. Now you might have to have a toilet for male, one female, and one for transgender. In the Olympics today, they're supposed to have a category for transgender. You can't let transgender want to run with women. So a big long balls man say he's a trans. Put him in women dormitory. Women side of the prison. Okay, he say he's a trans. We have to know from our leaders. What would our leaders do with the elderly people? If you continue to have version of clones like Dickon Group, because every year they could get worse. They could take action that is counterproductive to the elderly. What are they going to do with disadvantaged children? The government remove money, support system from disadvantaged children. Remember what Hitler did in World War II? A number of challenged Germans were killed because he wanted a pure society. He wanted a world without Jews. But he said the black race is the worst race in the world, so you keep them as slaves. We have to ask questions. You don't take a debt like a sheep and then complain. We have to ask our leaders those fundamental questions. Particularly what we're seeing going on now from Dickon. An unknown entity. We gamble with it and that we get. We can't blame him. But we must not gamble anymore. So we must do everything in our power to question our leaders and find out from them. The number to call is 410-3030. This is Studio Galaxy 473. And we are the Galaxy Equalizers. And this program today is pure politics. And we provoke discussion. We encourage people to discuss these issues. We can't continue to claim if we know. We have the technology available. We have information superhighway. You're hearing what is going on in countries. There are some people suffering in countries just because of their religious belief. Falun Gong in China, the Uyghur people, they are suffering just because of their religious belief. There are some countries in the Middle East, Christians catching the hell, they're killing Christians. You can't have a Bible in Saudi Arabia. In Iran, they believe that the Jews should not exist. They should die. And they should be in the bottom of the sea. In Grenada here, we have atheists. We have hardline communists. They're like sleeping cells, waiting for an opportunity to rise. You must know what you're getting involved in. We must ask questions. You see, if the leaders grew up with you in a community, you might know a lot about them. Sometimes even the people you know a lot about here, they go away and they change radically. Women go away, they come back man. Man go away, they come back women. Some of them say they are transgenders. They change their sex. So now perhaps society have to add male toilets, female toilets, and transgender toilets. I think that's the best way for the Olympics. In the Olympics, they had a man that say them is woman running with woman. Well, they beat them woman. So maybe the Olympics have to have men race, women race, and transgender race. But if we don't discuss these topics, if we hide we head in the sand, if we behave like an ostrich, then we're going to be crying and say, if we didn't know. There is no need in politics to buy a cat in bag. We have to be able to question our political leaders. They wield immense power. They can change the economic situation in your country. Even the social have a lot of social implications. So we have to ask them questions. And by questioning them, we're able to know. We might able to more predict what their actions will be. In the coming years, the rainbow culture will be more and more in Grenada. The question of euthanasia will be another factor. Gay marriage will be another issue. Whether a man could bestiality, man could marry a cow and a pig and a woman one time. More and more, as we have a lot of liberalism, the communists don't believe in God. They believe religion is the opium of the people. And then we have the Satanists. We have devil worshippers. And all of them travel on the same bus with us. So it's important we know what is the position of individuals. Ask them what position you have for young people. Because from time to time, you may wake up one morning. Would you close down sports? There's some religion in Grenada that don't believe in sports. They'll never be in the Olympic. There are certain days they would not walk, they wouldn't play sports on that day. We have to know. If we don't know, we'll be fooling ourselves. There are some people's economic policy that wouldn't give us the permission for, as individuals, for us to grow. We must know. Remember, in communist countries, the land was taken away from people and give it to the government. In Cuba today, we don't have freedom of the press. Somebody cannot do what I'm doing here now from Studio Galaxy and attack the government and survive. They're going to end up in jail in Cuba today. Cuba today have political prisoners. So a lot of people in the Caribbean support that. People support classism. They believe they're in a different social class from you, and as a result, they should be treated differently. Your children are going to be affected. The job market is becoming more and more competitive and depends on our leaders. It could be a very negative thing for us. So I think it's a good time. 50 years of independence is significant. In 50 years of independence, I still ask the question, who is the third party that is directing our foreign policy, and what was involved? What was given for that? Did Dickon make a money on that? This is 40 years of the NNP, a very successful political party. And on the 15th of December, we expect a new leadership coming from them. Are you prepared to ask those leaders questions so you know what you're dealing with? Or are you prepared to gamble as how you gamble in Dickon? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I believe we should ask questions. If we do, we will be better able to make decisions and predict the direction that our political leaders is going to take us. What is our leaders' position on Latin America? 500 million people living next door to us. Are we preparing as a people to benefit from that population? Ask our leaders. What will they do about it? We want to thank you once again this Saturday for interacting and being with our program, Studio Galaxy, and we are the Galaxy Equalizers. We want to thank you. We want to encourage you to share our program. Subscribe to Studio Galaxy. Some of the elders, some of the young men maybe don't know how to subscribe, and you can always ask. I always encourage people to ask. The technology is new to a lot of us. I myself are struggling. I am very fortunate. I have the assistance of younger people. I always engage them, ask them another question, and seek their assistance. They have technology I don't have. They have knowledge I don't have. We have to work together to make Grenada a progressive place. I need you to help me. Help me by subscribing to Studio Galaxy. We intend to start additional programs, but we need you to help us to subscribe. Subscribe, like, share, talk about it. And you don't have to agree with us. We believe that you could challenge us directly. We love the difference of opinion and will entertain the discussion and will read your posts. Or even you have topics that you would like us to put emphasis on, we will do it. Thank you very much.